me my nice chilled background music to get me in the mood. Sitting here with a cup of tea and my sort of spa sounds going on.
That sounds pretty good actually. It's coming through quite well. I thought, like, you know, with some of the digital radio modes, like stuff like that just doesn't come over very well, does it? But yeah. So thanks for helping me out today, Andy. I do appreciate it. Like what I said to you, the camera's rolling. I just thought it'd be good just to, rather than demonstrate, because I'm demonstrating this Senhaix N60, you see, so I thought rather than just sit here and just babble on, you know, can you hear me, how's it sound, blah blah blah, I thought it'd be good just to have like a bit of a discussion about network radios and things like that, because it's sort of, it really is like taking off now. It's sort of taking the community by storm, like, and a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not radio, but it is a transceiver, isn't it? It's a transceiver unit that does transmit to a mobile phone mast. It's just not amateur radio, but I think it's definitely got its place. Plenty of amateurs are using it. I don't know what you think. Back to you.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, thanks for having us. I think, yeah, I mean, it's a sort of step change in technology, isn't it? This is the thing, and I think we've come from one step to another. I think these radios, or you know, devices, as we're kind of calling them, like these network radios, really they've kind of, I think that the reason they've caught on now is because the digital side of thing happened, and people got used to actually kind of using the internet to actually connect repeaters up. So, you know, in my mind, it's kind of a natural step where you kind of just cut out a lot of the in-between steps, so you just basically go directly to, you know, you're talking directly across the internet rather than having to go through, you know, like a hotspot or something. I mean, those things are good and those things are great because you're still feeling like you're doing radio, but you know, these things are kind of like a hybrid, aren't they? They're kind of, like you say, you're still using radio, you're still using the airwaves, and interestingly enough, these devices actually seem to have a lot better reception. Like they pick up the cell signals a lot better than like a conventional mobile phone. So that's quite interesting. Like, I mean, as well, I can use this on Wi-Fi in places where I can't even use my phone, like my iPhone. So it's definitely a different technology, but it's definitely something that you know, that is going to be appealing for people, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just like a step on, or like in addition to amateur radio. So, like, a lot of people are hung up on this thing that it could kill amateur radio, and it's not amateur radio, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's like you say, the digital modes and the linking around the world and stuff sort of became a thing, and that's really took off now with, you know, Shark, the open spot. And the DV megas and stuff like that. Yeah, for me, this is just a sideline. You know, I'll always be an amateur radio operator. You know, FM being the choice of you know, operation for me. But it's like DMR and fusion and stuff like that. It's just another option to the hobby. And for those who are interested in the communication and social side of things, this is like a great little addition to amateur radio, isn't it? And yeah, that's what a lot of people don't seem to get. It's just a sideline to the hobby. You know, for me, and there is a lot of amateur radio operators on here. I mean, like on the network radio groups, there's thousands of, well, there's like 1,000 members on there now, and most of them are amateur radio operators, and the ones that aren't are ones that are into radio and wanting to get into this hobby. So yeah, I definitely think they've got the place, Andy, and I just think that, like Zello, you know, there are other PTT offerings out there, but I just think Zello's a cracking app. Like, you can listen back to the transmissions. Like, I can see now your call sign on the screen. It's telling me how long I've been talking to you for and all sorts of stuff. So it's just really handy to have it. You know, a lot of people say you could use a mobile phone, but it's nice to have a dedicated device to this sort of thing. And I'm sure you'll agree. So yeah, I'm happy with them. I've got a few network radios now and can't really fault them, and I agree with you as well about having, even when they're on 3G, they still have a better sort of signal, like than and the same, you know, my iPhone, I can go to some areas where my iPhone's got no signal and the network radio's just got a full signal, and if it's not on 4G, it's on 3G, and I've never had an issue with these. I've been sort of all over the place with these and they've always come through. So yeah, I think they definitely definitely the way forward for quite a lot of people, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the technology goes. Back to you, Andy.
Yeah, big old Roger on that one. It's very interesting. I mean, the fact that I can just pick up something and just start talking to you straight away, push to talk. I mean, I actually like the conventional kind of push to talk kind of a system, like even over phone calls sometimes, because I think it forces you to listen to the other person, and take in what they've said, and then, we were all guilty of kind of these long overs when we were on the airwaves, and we kind of key up for ages, and our radios overheat and time out and all sorts of things. That's the nature of the beast, isn't it? And I think with this, you can do this to your heart's content, and that's really good. I mean, I'm kind of a radio purist. I kind of love that technology, but I also like the element of just being able to conveniently talk to someone like yourself, where we wouldn't be able to do this over conventional radio, apart from DMR. Like, we maybe be able to do it over DMR, D-Star, or some of the digital modes, but the entry point is high because you've got to have an expensive radio, you've got to make sure you can actually get into a repeater. So it's still challenging, and that is the thing. Amateur radio is meant to be a little bit challenging, meant to be kind of testing it and getting your aerial right, and that is part of the fun. But sometimes in this day and age, we're just so used to being able to just pick up something and talk to someone. Then amateur radio starts feeling pretty kind of antiquated when you just want to talk to someone and you can't because the repeater's down or something like that. I mean, where it comes into their own, these things are, as you say, it's like a dedicated device and it just does what it's supposed to do. And these things are optimised. This is the thing. These things are actually optimised for that. And a lot of these manufacturers are now starting to learn that if they cut away a lot of this Android rubbish and the heavyweight stuff in the operating system, you can actually make it even more stable and even more of a kind of reliable means of communication. Now, one thing that I think should happen, and this will be in the true spirit of amateur radio, and that is, basically amateur radio, part of the amateur culture is to kind of use the airwaves, obviously, but many use wireless LAN. So, like, actually doing point-to-point networks with Wi-Fi. That's one area that I kind of got into. So you're using Wi-Fi signals to basically, make a connection over a long distance, like 20 kilometres plus, depending on where you put your antennas. So if you can use a Wi-Fi link or wireless LAN link, and then these radios can connect, to your router, which they will do. And potentially there's a way that you could actually use these radios completely off the internet and just have a point-to-point kind of network. I mean, this is probably just me just thinking wildly, but that I see is a real strong point. If you could take away the internet backbone of this stuff, suddenly you've got some really interesting stuff going on for like emergencies and situations and stuff like that. Let me think back to you.
Yeah, there's some really great points there, Andy. I agree. I think experimenting with that would be fantastic. I wish I could get into something like that now. But yeah, that's definitely something that could be looked at and explored and be really successful. But yeah, you just made me think. Then a lot of people say, oh, if the mobile phone networks are down, then you're screwed. But for the modern day radio amateur, if the electric's down in your house, you're screwed because your power supplies won't work. And I know people have handhelds and stuff, but if someone's just got one radio at home and a power supply and an antenna, then it's useless to them as well. So, and the chances this day and age of a full network outage for any long period or permanent basis would be, pretty impossible, wouldn't it? And you made me think as well. These are handy for radio amateurs that want to keep in touch with. Well, anyone, but radio amateurs as well, and other radio amateurs further afield. If they have planning issues or they can't put antennas up, they can't, have radios in the house. Maybe not able to afford like HF gear, and you can talk to sort of all over the place to anyone on here. So yeah, I think definitely interesting times, and got its place, and you know, it just take that element of sort of complication and issue out of amateur radio, where you know you may not have an antenna, or you may have, you know, poor conditions, or the repeater might be down, or you know, something like that. It just does take that element out of it. And I think for me as well, these devices are getting better all the time. Like this one I'm on now has got such a big, it's got like a 4.5-inch touchscreen, which is really sort of easy to use, you know, for like typing and stuff. And a lot of the network radios now are coming out with DMR and UHF and VHF radios in them as well. There's some from like Inrico and some other manufacturers, Box Chip and things like that, that are sort of releasing radios now with DMR in them, and FM UHF radios. So that's, you know, another really sort of good avenue to go down. So yeah, I think the technology's grown massively over the last 12 to 18 months, and I just can't wait to see where it goes from here. Andy, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this radio here has got DMR as well, but unfortunately it's only one time slot at the moment. We spoke about that before, but that will change, I think, soon. Yeah, one of the other things we've forgotten, of course, is, you know, when you're in the shack and when you're actually working maybe like HF, I know you don't do that much of that these days, I don't really, to be honest, anyway, but maybe if you're trying to work propagations and things like propagation and stuff like that, these radios are fantastic, because you have this, how many times have you been sitting there and you're kind of on a phone call, you're texting the other amateur radio operator saying, can you hear me, or you know, stuff like that. But of course with this you can just use it like a normal radio, so it's very instinctive to just pick it up, push the button and just say, yeah, hey, I'm on like 144 300 and I'm calling, can you hear me? And it's fantastic for that. That's, I mean, you know, I haven't actually used it for that yet, but I can see that would be, you know, that would be really, really, really good. Yeah, it's definitely interesting times. And whilst I was saying that stuff about the kind of Wi-Fi, the WLAN type thing, where you kind of, it'd be cool to get a few of these radios on a network. I mean, imagine if you could have like a local network that was run by, I mean, you're talking infrastructure here, so you're talking about that kind of entry point, the easy entry point going off on a tangent, but maybe for the kind of more skilled, you know, amateurs that want to actually do something a little bit groundbreaking. Imagine if you could have like a local Wi-Fi network that these radios were connected to, and then whatever happened, that is going to be functional. And I mean, like you say, like it's very unlikely, you know, that the internet's going to go down, and you're going to get situations where that happens in this country. But you know, there's certain places in the world where, you know, internet access is not great, and you know, if cell masts and stuff go down, things like that, then you know that could be a problem. And you know, they do have these kind of community Wi-Fi, WLAN networks. I'd love to explore that. I think that's quite an interesting area. But like you say, I mean, the radios have just got these little, I mean, we'll call them radios for argument's sake, but because the fantastic thing is, because the technology is driven by mobile phone, we are actually getting the latest technology in these radios. So whereas like an Icon radio or something like that, those guys are designing that from scratch, and they're, you know, making that particular radio, but it's based on, you know, their research and development is all done themselves, like, but with mobile phones and this mobile tech, you've immediately got, you know, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC, all the things that you've got, like super powerful processor, like amazing graphics, like super responsive touchscreen. There's no radio, there's no amateur radio on the market, like handheld or mobile. There's no other radio, even in the business world, that actually has, that is like that, other than radios like this, like hybrid radios, things like that. So, I mean, yeah, it's fantastic stuff, but I mean, we can all go off on a tangent on it, can't we, mate? Back to you.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, it was sort of early days, aren't we, with this technology? I mean, this radio I'm on now has been out just like a couple of weeks, and you know, just the features in it are a massive step up from other mobile network radios that are out there. So yeah, I think the basis is there, isn't it? The platform is there, and where it goes from here can only be up. And I agree, like, you know, radio manufacturers, that they can only go so far. I mean, like, if you look at the Icon 5100. And like this, the 7000, the HF one, they've still got like a black and white LCD display and stuff like that. And you know, it does. I know some of the software-defined ones now got the more colourful displays, and you know, they've got the OLED displays and stuff like that, haven't it? But you know, these have got like, you know, touch screen in them and all sorts, like you say. So the sort of basis of the technology is already way ahead of what radio is at. You know, and there's no reason why a lot of these companies can't start to tie in like transceiver. You know, UHF and VHF transceivers into them. And yeah, like I say, we could go on all day, Andy, but this conservatory I'm in now is about 450 degrees. Literally, it's like really hot. So I'm gonna end it here. But I do appreciate the chat, and yeah, it's been interesting. We'll definitely have to pick up where we left off another time. But yeah, cheers. Thanks very much for getting on, Andy. Do appreciate it, and it's nice to hear your points and opinions on network radios as well. So I'll say 7-3, and I'll pass it back to you for a final, M3HHY.
As soon as you say final, it just means, it just gives the other person the opportunity to speak for another 5 minutes. I mean, this is always the thing. I think all the problems I've ever had with kind of amateur radio is where I never finish my conversation, because sometimes you need to do something really quickly, or there's a phone call or something like that, and you end up just having to drop off the face of the earth. So I apologise to any amateurs out there that are watching this, where I've kind of been on there. My call sign's N60JKA, by the way, and I apologise to anyone if I've just vanished from the face of the earth on any one occasion, but it's nothing personal. It's just yeah, the spirit of push to talk is that sometimes you just can't finish your conversation. On that note, Lewis, I'll say 73 to you as well. So thanks for having me, and catch you again.
Yeah, cheers for the chat, Andy, and I'll catch you further down. 7-3.